if anyone asked me when my body was clicking the most, and it wasn't when I started winning Olympias, that's for sure. It was actually in 2002 when I actually started, figuring out my body and being able to dial in without having to kill myself, We good?
Yep.
All right, so we're back for another episode of Cutler Cast.
What episode? I don't even know what I think.
69 or
it's 67.
Okay. We don't even.
We'll find out when we post it.
The problem is, so for you guys that don't know, we always have delayed. Sometimes we wait to air some certain things, but this is the Arnold Classic week.
Yep.
And I mean, we've been talking about this for a few weeks now. It seems like contest season, like we'll just start rolling into it. But you head out tomorrow. I actually head out on Thursday, and we have the final countdown. And
this is the first show of the year, because before it was always the Ironman, but there's nothing overseas. This is the first men's open. I think there might have been a couple of bikini shows or some of the other divisions, but this is the first open male show of the year.
It's kind of funny because there's only I look at 3 major contests a year, and that being Arnold, New York, Olympia.
Those are the ones that have been consistently there for
they've been
many
there for
years.
so long. So, like, if I was contracted back in my era to land in the Mr. Olympia at the end of the year, which normally is in October, we've seen a shift a little bit, but when I had a Weider contract, I was expected to qualify, and I had to choose either I was going to compete early in the season or I was going to compete in the middle. And ideally, as a new pro, you always wanted to go to the show that wasn't as crazy, because back then, everybody from the top Olympia guys went to the Arnold Classic because it was the second biggest pay show. Schwarzenegger's name. Seems like people would finish the Olympia. Remember, like I said, it was in September, so you had actually a little more time. Now, this year fell the shortest.
10 weeks, I think it was.
The shortest you've ever seen. And, I was a 3-time champ. You can see, actually, my thing's in the way, but
you can kind of see it.
Yeah, I got some awards back there, but
there.
I've kind of gone back and forth, and I mentioned that, if this was reversed back 20 years ago, it's been that long. I can't believe it's been 20 years.
22 years since your first, 2022. So 21 years since your first one.
21 years, yeah. And I didn't plan on doing that contest. It was like one of those things where I told you I was sitting at a gas station and Jim Lormer calls me and says, "Hey, we want you in the show." And back then it was like the top 10 or 12 guys. And I thought, wow, it's an honor, right, to be called to the Schwarzenegger Classic. And, it was honestly, I would have to say, if you asked me, the easiest prep I ever had was probably for that 02 Arnold, my first.
Why is that?
Because in 01, I'm going to kind of reverse a little bit. In 01 Olympia, remember, it happened around the 9/11 tragedy, right? It was 6 weeks after 9/11. So September 11th, I think the show was 6 weeks after that. So it was in October, but I was, I went really hard for, like 6 or 8 weeks and got in crazy shape. So 10 weeks out of the Mr. Olympia in 2001, I was in like crazy condition. Literally, I had to eat my way into 2001 Olympia. So when I landed at 2001 Olympia, I was obviously the best I had ever been. Just really great balance, and my body came to, that level at that point. And, I really didn't deviate much because I had so many photo shoots to do after the 01 Olympia. And next thing you know, my mom came for vacation, so we spent time down in San Diego, and that's when I kind of made the decision. And at that time, I don't know how many weeks out it was, but I decided to do the contest. And, I really didn't have a lot to do with my body. When you're already lean, you can basically shift your calories around. And what I was doing at that point, I was doing medium, low, and high days. So all my training days would be between mediums and high days. And then the days off, which I had 2 days a week, I would actually eat lower carbs. But my lower carb at that point was like 400 grams of carbs a day, which is ridiculously high. But I was burning so much. I mean, my metabolism was so strong. That's why it was a no-brainer for me to do that contest. And that was actually the biggest I ever came in a contest. I think
Is that the year you did the Diet Mountain Dew diet?
I did it for 01 and 2002. I drank a 12-pack a day of Diet Mountain Dew. And I was drinking Coca-Cola after I trained. And it was kind of funny. I'd walk into the Crunch in the Kaleidoscope Plaza off of the 5 freeway in off of the Crown Valley Parkway. It was in Mission Viejo. And I remember I used to have a can of Coke. I would sit on this counter at this Crunch, and I'd walk out of the gym, and I was drinking a Coke. And I remember people looking at me, and it wasn't a super crowded gym, but like, hey, aren't you doing the show in whatever weeks? And I'd be like, yeah, But I would do saunas twice a day. I was doing no cardiovascular whatsoever, but I was training twice a day, and I still go back to that theory about twice a day. But, walking into that show, I had built a lot of confidence from the Olympia.
Of course. Because you just beat everybody except Ronnie, and Ronnie wasn't there.
In Cormier was the main contender in 2002, and I think, I don't know if Kevin was in the show then, but I wasn't concerned about anyone but duplicating similar to like I was in 01. And like I said, I was able to come in a lot bigger. I felt like I was big enough and hard enough. I wasn't at my all-time best as far as lean down, bone down, but I just overwhelmed everyone, and that's what brought me the victory there. But, man, that was probably, if anyone asked me when my body was clicking the most, and it wasn't when I started winning Olympias, that's for sure. It was actually in 2002 when I actually started, figuring out my body and being able to dial in without having to kill myself. No cardio was the best for me.
Yeah.
And I wish.
Because cardio is kind of counterproductive if you think about it.
It is. And I know there are people come on here and they argue, well, you can eat more. It makes your skin thinner, this and this. But it worked like 2 contests. I did no cardio for 01 the last 10 weeks, and I did none for the 02
and that
Arnold.
That was due to the twice-a-day training.
Twice-a-day training is better than doing cardio for sure. Mm-hmm. And I believe that if
because it saves your legs too.
I think a lot more people, if they actually worked out twice a day, if they split body parts and hit the metabolism twice a day, it would allow them to eat more, and it would allow them to get leaner quicker. And especially the way I was training with the volume training and, short rest periods and having that much muscle mass. That was the main factor too, is I developed so much muscle that you really don't need to do a ton of cardio. I don't believe that you do. I still believe, and I preach this to people, some people, it's just not necessary.
Yeah.
I think as you get older, maybe it's a little different. But, I came in that show, I won. It was the first year they gave out the H2 Hummers, and, it was $100,000. I still have the check in my safe. I have the first check, the actual photocopy of it, because I should actually frame that. I just was looking, I was just pulled out of my safe the other day, and I was like, man, I remember this, Jim Lorimer signed the check. It was like, it was a small check, dude. It was like a normal. It was like a little, a personal check almost. It said Schwarzenegger Productions, but it was a very small. Now the checks, like business checks, are big.
It was like he pulled out of his back pocket.
Yeah. Like, here's your check.
That's kind of cool though.
And
what was that like for you? Because obviously this is Arnold Week, and there's a lot of people going for their first time.
There was a lot of emotions, man, because remember, I failed the diuretic test, and I went through all that legal stuff in between competing. And then when I got there, it was like that question factor, okay, they were still testing for diuretics. What was going to happen?
Did you take diuretics?
No, I didn't.
Failed. So someone tried to rig it?
Yeah, I think
it's like the '88 Olympics.
No, listen. Did I take diuretics in 01? Yes, of course I did, but I didn't take what they said I flunked on. It's
the same thing with the Ben Johnson. He tested positive for things that he didn't take. Go figure.
Yeah, it was. Anyway, that whole thing was obviously got dismissed.
So go through this. So you're announced the winner. What goes through your head when you're standing there and there's thousands of people watching you look over? Because then Arnold walked the trophy out. You know, I don't know if he still does, just because he's older now.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
But what was that? What went through your head when you saw him walking over to you?
You know, it wasn't so much that, because I was more like, wow, I really made it. You know, this is now historic. I mean, watch people like Mike Francois, who is a huge flex wheeler. You know, all these guys win.
Kevin Levrone.
Yeah, Nasser Al-Sambadi won in 99. Sean Ray. So, I mean, I witnessed, remember, I competed in 99 when Nasser won.
And Ronnie won the year before you.
Yes.
So to a certain degree, this wasn't, if somebody said Jay Cutler was a fluke that he got second at the Olympia in 01, you came into the next Arnold and you showed it wasn't a fluke.
Yeah, and you know, I wasn't sure still at that point if I could win the Olympia, especially after being like kind of dismissed of the title a few months prior, like it was questionable. So I wasn't really sure where, like, that still wasn't sure if that was my calling, if it makes sense. So here I am solidifying an Arnold win. And now, like, I had all these, I remember I was moving to Vegas at the time, and my life was really starting to get rolling. I had been introduced to my first big paycheck, $60K at the 01 Olympia. So now I won 100. Plus, I was winning a new Hummer truck
and a watch.
Yes, I won a
gold
Rolex. Yeah. So,
do you still have that, or did you sell it?
No, I sold it.
That's a small, the 36.
Yeah, it wasn't a big one. It's still worth $20,000. Probably more
still,
now.
It
was
$20,000
mid
30s.
Yeah. So that was kind of like the historic, and then of course going back and sitting out 2002 Olympia, and then going back in 03 thinking I was going to actually be the man, like, and win the Olympia that year. But it was like Ironman, Arnold, San Francisco Pro. I was supposed to go to Italy and compete. I just didn't, because I ended up with
That was Rome.
Rome, yeah. So I ended up with bronchitis or whatever, so I didn't compete. I just went as a guest. And then, rolling into the Olympia, and then I went to the GNC Show of Strength and lost to Dexter. I don't know if you even remember that. Yeah. That was 03, and then, in 04, I went and kind of did my own thing. Chris really didn't help me that year. And, that was my last hurrah. But every year winning the most muscular. And, Columbus was great. I remember the first year. I remember when John Meadows is actually my driver. Mm-hmm. He took me, and then Lloyd took me one year to the supermarket. And what I really liked about the Arnold is different from the Olympia ever was, like, we literally had a person dedicated to us. And because it was an invitational, there was, like, you had transportation as soon as you were picked up, and they treated you. They had the gift baskets in the room, and the meeting was small. It was more intimate, and it was like you knew exactly. Remember, it wasn't all these divisions then, so the show was centered around.
There was only 3 divisions then.
Yeah, so
men's bodybuilding, women's, and fitness.
Yeah, so it was great. The whole experience was great. My family could come. My family drove from Massachusetts. That's what was great. They came to every single one. So they rented a van.
They couldn't always go to the Olympia.
No. I mean, my parents came, but coming to Vegas all the time was difficult for them. So, my brothers did come, and they had came to Dallas like prior to that, and they came to Night of Champions when I won that, which was really cool. That was in New York, so it was close enough being in Ohio that they could drive from Massachusetts, and it was just that East Coast kind of feel was to that contest. So it always had like great memories, and being on stage with the best of the best. And I mean, I battled Cormier, who was a great person to battle with. Like, I was always challenging myself. And I remember in 03, 04 time, he was actually living in Vegas, and like we didn't really run into each other, but I knew he was here. So it was kind of like I was always like trying to one up him, as far as I'm going to train harder, and people would see me training versus him training and be like, oh, you're training harder than him.
That was a Gold's Gym on Flamingo?
That was Decatur. Yeah.
Okay.
And then in 04, I remember we were doing our Muscle Tech stuff. So we were actually in California. I remember being out there like 7 weeks before the show, and we were doing photo shoots and really kind of prepping. And at that point, I hadn't won the Olympia, but I said, after 04, I said, that is it. I'm going to lock down. and I'm going to focus on winning this Olympia. And in 05, I almost did it, and then in 06, I won. So it was very thought out process to sit back, and how many could I actually have won is the question.
The Arnolds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the record is 4.
I think Dexter has 5. I don't know why.
Okay.
Dexter has 9 total around the world because he's won all of them.
I thought he had 4. I thought he had 4 or 5. Maybe
I thought Flex Wheeler had 4, and Dexter beat him.
Yeah.
Dexter's got 5. Which I don't think. I think that record will never get beaten because people don't concentrate on the Arnold like they once did. And I don't know why. I mean, I was going to ask you that. Why do you think it is throughout history the Arnold was always something that people targeted because of the money and the prestige? But it seems like nowadays guys aren't as enthusiastic, or they're not excited about the Arnold as it once was.
Because there's too many shows to qualify.
But,
so you remember there was very limited shows to qualify, and we were contracted, like, I think even in our Weeder deals, it was like you were to do the Arnold, the Night of Champions, or, to get in the Olympia. There weren't, there wasn't any Canadian Pro, I don't know what they call it, Toronto Pro or whatever, right? So,
but think of it like this: Cormier would do Ironman. He didn't have to; he was already qualified for the Olympia because back then it was a top 10.
Yeah, you're right.
He would do the Ironman.
I mean,
you did the Ironman. Phil Heath did the Ironman.
I think there was less opportunities to make money too. I mean, you had contracts, but people didn't have mail orders or any of that stuff. So, I think it was the way of, okay, I can fund a better lifestyle. Because your contracts are limited.
I would say this. Money's shifted nowadays where they don't have the contracts, but they have other avenues to make money. Mm-hmm. But there's few people that are really making that kind of money nowadays. There's few. And people can say, well, I can make money in all these different areas, but there's only a couple that make hundreds of thousands or millions. To where when you were competing, you were making millions from contracts. So you were making it this way. You weren't making as much from mail order, but as social media came on and the contracts got lower, the money came up here. So why do you think where some of the guys, like, look, the prize money was $200,000 and nobody really wanted to do it. Where if the prize money had been $200,000,
it was too close to the Olympia.
But if there was $200,000 when you did the Olympia, would you have done the show?
It's questionable,
If it would have been in
I mean, people thought I was crazy sitting out 02 Olympia.
But what I mean is, like, if it was 10 weeks out and it was 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, when you were coming in and when you were really making a name for yourself, there's no way you would have sat that out. Because you would have looked at that like, who's going to beat me? But you stayed in shape year round.
Well,
you didn't get out of shape.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say,
you did it. You did it those 3 years.
Yeah, but I did it because I wasn't winning the Olympia, or maybe I never thought. If I look back now, and honestly, I don't recall why I did it. But I really think that I wasn't sure if I was actually going to beat Ronnie Coleman at that point. I knew that when I got there, I could. Let's put it that way. But I was like, maybe, hey, it was just an opportunity for me to build more branding and give the fans something that
it builds your fan base.
I think that, I was improving steadily, so I really wanted to get out there and showcase my body, and show people what I was doing in the gym.
I think in a when you look back, it helped build your legend.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. They called me every year after the first year.
Yeah,
like expecting me to do it. Because I was remember. So 02, I win, set out. They're like, we want you back. So I'm like, of course, So I didn't plan on doing the Ironman. I jumped in the Ironman a week out. So I go back and do the Arnold, win again. So, of course, the next year they're like, come back. And they called me in 05 to come back.
Yeah.
But I said no. Because by that point I was like, hey, you know what? I was like grinding every year, and I think I was able to improve because I was staying more on path with dieting for 2 contests a year. I think when I stopped peaking like that, I mean, 05, I was able to get in shape, but 06, I was good.
Yeah.
But I stopped, if you look at the track record after 06, it was really difficult for me to get in shape.
What year did you sign with Muscle Tech?
I signed in 03, and then I signed the second deal in 06. So I signed a 3-year deal in 03, and then I signed
5-year?
a 3 with a 2-year option, yeah.
I would say the difference with you then compared to a lot of guys now is $100,000 winning $100,000 to you at that moment wasn't a big deal to you because you could make that very easily every couple weeks with everything you had going on. So, but a lot of guys now, there's 2 or 3 that make that much money in a month and they're not doing the Arnold. You know, there's 2 or 3. And I think that's the big difference. That's why I kind of look back and look at some of the guys now and go, damn, it's a lot of money.
You know what, though? I'll be truthful. Like I said, I sit here on this podcast. Yeah. I really, truly look back now and I say I really didn't enjoy competing.
Yeah.
I liked, it was my ego to say, I want to get and show what I'm working in the gym. That was my only outlet. But then once I started getting in the media and the videos and everything, remember, I did my first video launched in 2000, probably somewhere around there. So every year, you know, around the Arnold, I made a new video. Yeah. So once those things started catching on and people started, you know, the guest posing started to roll, I loved the guest posing a lot more than competing. Yeah. So for me, I understand.
You made a lot of money guest posing too.
But I wouldn't blame half these guys if Andrew Jack or Nick Walker or all these guys said I don't like to compete. Like I'd totally get it. I mean, people would be flabbergasted by that. Like, how can you? That's your profession. You know, you don't. My profession was to go to the gym and lift weights. You know, getting on stage. Getting on stage was my opportunity. But in the end,
I think Branch Warren said that in one of the interviews where he just loved to train, and because of that, he turned into a bodybuilder. The
magazines is what paid me, right? Yeah. So in the beginning, and they paid me for, you know, the physique I developed, not because of titles. Like I was paid well, not because of I was winning shows. Then eventually, once you can start winning money and being featured and being popular, that's what's so great about it, right?
I think the reason why you're still successful today and why you still get booked more than anyone and you're still tried, it's because of all those years they build up, all the appearances, all the hands you've shaken over throughout the years, how many times people told you a story 15 years ago, maybe at the Arnold, you took a picture with somebody and here they are 20 years later. Hey, here's me holding my baby. Well, I'm that baby.
I know. Yeah.
People, the in-person, people seeing someone in person is different than seeing them on YouTube. It's different than seeing them on a stage at a seminar. Being able to shake someone's hand makes a difference in the longevity. It might not matter right at that exact moment, but if you didn't do that all these years, you wouldn't be where you are right now.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
I think though that I stayed active. I mean, I think you have to stay active. So, you know, what these guys will go do at this show, you know, you're only going to have one guy that wins, right? And we're kind of tossed between 6 guys or 7. I mean, what are there, 9 total guys? Or, you know, only one's going to win. And then one's going to be runner-up, one's going to be 3rd, 4th. You know, when I was 4th at the Arnold, it was a huge step for me, 98. And what they continue to do with this is the big question. You know, what they do if, you know, the guest appearances have slowed down, obviously. We're not seeing as many guest posings, right?
Yeah.
But the guest appearances are in abundance. The meet and greets are in abundance. I mean, there's still opportunity to go to supplement shops and military bases and expos.
If people want to do appearances now, they can do appearances. They can.
But you know what's kind of funny? When I actually got up there and I was even at the top level, I had so I would call the NPC office and I say, okay, who's the district chair people of each region? And I would put a form letter together and I'd put an 8x10 in a folder and I'd say, you know, I'm available for guest spots. This is my fee. You know, this is what I do, this many 10-minute guest posing routine, always in shape, you know, I come out, whatever. And I would send that to the district people because then, you know, the people under them that would create these shows would be like, hey, we're having an event. And back then, like, you had to bring in a guest almost, right, to gather attention to the contest. People weren't good or bad at social media. It didn't exist, right? Yeah. It was just a listed contest and then word of mouth, kind of like, hey, or posters, you know, whoever was running around flagging posters everywhere was going to do the best. And of course, putting a poster with Jay Cutler coming was a plus as a guest poser. So I would send these out every year. I would take the time to do it. And that groundwork really created a lot of opportunity for me. And even when I was booking left and right, I still took time to send those out. I mean, if some of you, probably people watching this podcast, remember me sending out these little things I had. I would do it out of my home office. I wasn't a big entity then. And I would go out there and go for work. I remember I started at $500, then it was $1,000, then it was like $2,000. And, most of the time, I mean, my fee went up to, $5,000 plus, whatever. But a lot of times I did stuff at like $3,000 plus expenses, which to go on away on a weekend and spend it at a show plus sell merch and 8x10s. I mean,
you know what I remembered seeing you back then. You would, if the show started at 7:00 and went till 10, at 6:50 you were there setting it up. Yeah. So every person that walked through,
I was there an hour before.
You'd
the doors
be there,
open at 6.
You'd be there doing this, and then it'd be like, "Hey Jay, you have to guest pose." Then you'd put like something over your stuff, or someone watch your merch. Yeah. You'd go guest pose. You'd get tanned up. You'd guest pose, and then you'd come back out and you'd keep selling. And a lot of times it'd be you and Ronnie, and then when you'd go up, Ronnie would be there, and then you'd come back, and then Ronnie would go up, and then you'd come back, and the two of you were next to each other, and you just sold and took pictures the whole time.
Yeah.
To where now, I've been there with some of these guys. They'll be like, "Well, what time do I go on?" I go out at 10, so at 9:45 they walk in back. They don't set anything up. They don't sell anything.
You got to do the meetup.
Of course.
That's what's key about. So when you get hired for guest posing, it's the meetup that means the world to people. Like, they can witness what you look like on stage, but if you walk in the back, do your thing, and walk out the back and then leave, there's no real interaction. People want to be able to have the opportunity to tell you, this is why I got into it, or this is why I follow you, or you did this for me, or have the opportunity. That picture means a crazy amount to people.
Of course.
So I think it's super important, and they are having some sort of a former winners event at this thing. So I'm kind of excited about that. Yeah. I believe that we'll have some stage time.
Yeah. I think is it the 35th?
The first one was in
88?
89. So
89. Okay, so it's the 34th. Yeah, I think they're bringing all the winners back or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't know the details on it.
But it's the 35th or something, I think.
Yeah, no, I just remembering the times that I saw guest posers when I was, out of high school, and the guest posers were there for the whole show. And sometimes they were there at prejudging too. And I remember, I think there was a show that you were at where you guest posed at prejudging and the night show.
Yeah, because the tickets.
Yeah. But there's a difference.
I would double guest pose a lot.
And what it comes down to is, in this industry, what you put in is what you'll get out long term. It might not be short term. You're not going to see it now. If you're one of these people that shows up late and leaves early, you're going to get your money, and you're going to see that now. But you know what? When you're 40, 45, almost 50 years old, you're going to look back and go, if I would have put that effort then, I will be feeling the ripple effect from it now. Mm-hmm. And guess who are the two most booked people in our industry? You and Ronnie Coleman. And he still goes in a wheelchair. And it's because you guys put all that legwork in all those years. And there are other people that competed alongside you the whole time, and they didn't put that extra effort. They didn't. And there's a reason.
Well, I think we fell in that era where we had a lot of guest appearances available to us also.
But there was a lot of guys that did, but there's a difference between people that go that extra mile. Tell me right now, have you ever emailed Ronnie Coleman? He'll email you back.
Yeah. If
you've ever reached out to him, he goes the extra mile.
He's great about it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him again this weekend. What are you looking forward to about this year's Arnold, do you think? This is the first year I think it's really going to be back to
what's funny?
Craziness.
We all have our opinions on who can win. And this is a legit show where I'm excited. I don't, obviously what you see on social media, but I'm excited just to see how it plays out.
I still stick with who I said.
No, I mean, Nick is for sure he's the front runner, but can he be beat? Yes. There's 5 guys that can beat him. Now, will they is a different story. Like I said, there's a million variables that can happen, but I'm excited to see that there's guys coming into this show that have endless potential, and we're still seeing that potential develop. Is that potential going to overtake what we know What we see with Nick, we know we're going to see with Nick Walker.
You know,
He's
usually 1 out of the 10 guys that potentially can be great are usually the only ones that succeed, right?
Yeah. So
I mean, we can talk about it. Like, think about like
Nick was a potential guy years ago, and now he's that guy.
Rami was a potential guy. Remember how
and
many
he became
years?
that guy.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's guys that are coming in. Like, we have no clue what's going to happen with Sean Clarita.
I mean, I thought Rolly would win at Olympia eventually.
I predicted him to win a couple years ago. But like when I said, look at Sean Clarita, we have no idea what. I don't know where he can place.
He's the X factor.
He's the X factor. I have no idea. Has Andrew Jack watching what Psycho Lewis is doing to him in the gym? Is his backside going to get tightened up to where now he's a factor? We see that looks like Samson's even bigger than he was before, and it looks like he's in better shape. You know, I mean, William Bonnick's been very quiet, but we all know if he's his normal self, he's won this show twice. He's got second at the Olympia.
Yeah.
So, but Rami has Chad figured out what went wrong with him? Can he fix it? If Rami's 100%, does he win? I would assume yes, if he's 100%, but if is if. But there's a lot of and Kamal's a former 212 champion. He's going to be in shape. Like there's a lot of X factors going into this. So I'm looking forward to a couple things. One, seeing how busy the expo is, because we've been going to expos around the world for many years. And it was kind of hard going to expos and seeing the decline because of COVID. It was very difficult seeing it because we know how many people make their livelihood from this, how many people depend on this, communities depend on this, expo halls can depend on this, promoters depend on this. And we watch it go down. And halfway through last year, going around the world, I started seeing it climb up. And we went to the Arnold UK. I was like, okay, this is busier than it's ever been. And we went to Dubai Muscle Show, and it's even busier than it's ever been. And the Olympia being the weekend before Christmas, I thought it was as busy as it could be. Now this Arnold, I expect it to be crazy, and it will be. And you'll be at the Celsius booth, and Regan will be at the Celsius booth, and Urishna will be at the Celsius booth, and Aaron Banks will be there, and Laura Lee will be there, and then you have all your private stuff set up with you and Ronnie and you by yourself. Like, I'm just looking forward to seeing the industry thrive more than anything. I look at that more so than the show, because that affects people directly that we see on a daily basis, and it affects people's lives regardless of what happens to that show. It's not, in the grand scheme of things, that's the most important.
But let me ask you this. So the guy wins the show. Where does that put him as a runner? Is it still the fact that the guy wins the Arnold? Is he considered a front runner for the Olympia, or it depends on who was in the show? Because our top two guys aren't there from the Olympia.
I think whoever wins this show is the front runner going into the Olympia.
I'd like to know what the viewers
think. I just think.
I know. Can someone beat Hadi Chupin though? Is he beatable?
Look, there's nobody that's ever walked across the stage that's not beatable.
I know.
Is Hadi beatable?
Yes. Do you think he? If you were a betting man, do you think he holds position another Olympia?
I would say, and I know I'm going to get flamed for this, I don't think the next two people in line can beat Hadi. That's my opinion. I don't. Hadi's going to get better. Is Nick or Derek going to get that much better where they can beat someone? Hadi doesn't really have flaws. He's the most conditioned guy.
Do you think he comes with a different combination? You say he gets better. Is it just a better combination, or do you think he improves body parts to be better?
I think he will be more conditioned, because I have a feeling this next year at the Olympia, the guys are not going to sit backstage for 4 hours, and I think he will be as conditioned as anyone's ever been. He doesn't have like flaws. You know what I mean? Look, nobody's perfect, but he doesn't have glaring flaws.
Who at the Arnold has the most to prove, do you feel?
Andrew and Samson.
I don't agree.
Or Rami. Yeah, Rami, yeah. Rami's already won the Olympia.
Because Walker, I mean, he's the best of the last show, right? Yeah. That's why we're calling him a front runner for the contest.
Yes.
But like, who has the most to prove? Don't you agree it's Rami?
I can see that.
I mean, or Clarita, who won the 212, that's now stepping into a big boy open show, because I know he's done.
These are the biggest of the big.
Yeah.
The reason why I say,
if Clarita lands in the top three, where does that what is that position does that put him in? Like,
mean,
does he make the decision to go back and win the 212, or do you feel like he may shift gears and say, you know what, if I can finish in the top 6, the money factor is much different?
He would probably, I would assume he would just go at the Open.
You think
I
so?
think he would. You know, well, it depends on where the money's at. If winning the 212, let's say the money goes up to, I'm going to make a number up, it goes up to $100,000. Of course, he would stay doing that. But I see what you're saying about Rami as a lot, but Rami's already won 2 Olympias. He has nothing to prove to anybody.
Yeah, but,
he's already in history.
But people, I think, are counting him out a little bit. You know,
I think they are too. I think they're saying Nick's going to win and Samson. They're not even considering him. And if Rami looks like he did in 2020, he will win. He will. He will if he looks like that. But I don't know if that's possible. We'll see. But I think the reason why I say Samson and Andrew is because Samson and Andrew are where Rami was 5 years ago, where everyone's going, oh, my God, if he can pull it together, he could be one of the greatest we've ever seen. If those two guys pull it together, they could be a potential Mr. Olympia in the future. But
who wins that battle? You want to call it, or you don't want to call it?
I don't. It just comes down to who's in better shape. I don't know, because Milos is going to do what he does.
I think right now Andrew has more hype than Samson does. Like, we've seen more. Maybe, I don't know.
No, okay,
maybe I'm wrong.
I'll say this. I think I would expect Andrew to beat him, and the reason why I say that is they were very close. They're 2 spots apart. We know that Samson has Milos as a coach, and we've seen what they've done. Now, obviously, I'm assuming he will get better, but we saw what Andrew did without Aceto. Now he has Aceto in his corner. And Aceto has multiple Olympias, many Arnolds. He's got endless titles under his belt. Let's see what Aceto can do with him. I know it's a short period, but he could have that wow factor with a short distance.
Do you think as Samson, he's a lot bigger than last year, right?
Yeah, he's massive.
Last year as Arnold?
Yeah.
Is that a good or a bad thing?
I don't think he needs any more
because
muscle.
I don't think
he just needs to be in shape.
I don't think Nick's tremendously bigger. I don't think Andrew Jack is a lot bigger. We don't know what Clarita is going to be over his normal. So Samson is kind of like unknown because he's coming in a lot bigger than a year ago.
Yeah.
Where he was 4th in the Arnold, or?
Yeah, I think he got 4th. 3rd or 4th.
Okay.
I mean, look, Samson,
maybe.
Samson is one of the guys that can win. I mean, he is. He's a guy who can win. Andrew could win. Rami could win. Nick could win. Bonnet could win.
You notice we're not making any predictions here. Like, we didn't. I didn't want to make this a prediction show because I just feel like this is too close. I mean, I know anyone that goes on to these podcasts and they place these bets, like, okay, let's try to bet the order. Good luck, because you're not going to get it right. We totally destroyed the Olympia because we all picked Rami to win. And he got, obviously that changed everything when he got knocked to 5th place. So it's interesting to see. I mean, you guys, there is a webcast that is available.
Yes.
It is, I think you can actually use Cutler and save, I believe.
Cutler or Cutler Cast or something.
I think Cutler. I think Cutler. But more importantly, guys, make sure you guys check out the webcast. Hopefully I'll be making a cameo, whether it's on stage or something. And I know Phil is doing some commentating.
Yeah.
Nick Trigilli is.
Yep.
Dennis James.
Janet, Fuad.
Oh, okay. We got Fuad on there. Yeah.
Yep. I think there's multiple.
Yeah,
casts.
I think there's a Friday and a Saturday. So anyway, so I'm sure they'll have
Arnold will go on
heads covering each division, right?
Yeah.
So more importantly, we will be in the house. So please, if any of you people watch, when are we launching this?
I'm going to launch it Thursday morning.
Okay, so
it'll be up before
by the time I'll be landing in Columbus on Thursday evening. Please stop me. Please stop Matt. And tell us,
Matt. Top Jay.
Tell us what you think of the Cutler Cast. We appreciate you guys following along. Shout out once again, Celsius. We appreciate you guys.
But you're not going to make a prediction?
No. No, I'm not going to do it.
I always say, it's funny because even someone texted me the other day and said, give me your top 5. I'm like, I don't know. You can't predict these things.
Chris Psycho asked you that.
He asked me for your top 5 too. I said, ask Jay.
You know what's funny? I was on Chris's live feed the other day. He didn't ask me for the top 5.
Yeah.
He didn't ask me.
Yeah.
So,
but it's just one of those things where there are so many variables that can happen.
I fucking hate predictions. So make sure you bleep that out. I hate predictions. I hated it when I was a competitor. I don't want to disrespect anyone. I'm just a guy. Like I have my what I think the judges are going to do.
Yes.
And my preference, okay, with physiques. And like, I love the muscle, right? I mean, I love Nick Walker, but I'm a fan of Andrew. I'm a fan of Samson. I'm a fan of Clarita for just, I would love him to win, right?
Of course.
I'd love Rami to do a comeback story and get up there and quad stomp and like, just come up crazy, right? So, but hell, I'm happy for Nick Walker if he can get 2 times. He's one win away from me, that means, right? And I think he'll actually, at some point, I predict Nick Walker will hit 3 Arnolds. Yeah. And that's just awesome for me to see, you know?
If he would have done last year, he probably could have got 3 in a row.
I mean, listen,
like
what could have, should have, whatever I say.
I just love going into this show where I have no horse in this race.
I want to see Justin Rodriguez. He's impressive right now.
Or Akeem.
Akeem looks really good. You're right.
Akeem or Patrick Moore.
Yeah.
He's coming back from an injury.
There's a great storyline to everyone, and there's so many good bodies. And, like, if all those guys that we just mentioned, like, everyone looks in shape right now. You know, I haven't seen anyone that's like, oh, he hasn't shown anything. Yeah. I mean, everyone's putting their bodies.
You know who has the hardest job this weekend?
Who?
Steve.
Well, no, it's easy for him.
It's easy for him, but it's still
he'll pick it right. He'll be able to look right at it, and you know the good thing is like, you know, like we always say, we have no horses in this race, man.
I'm just whoever wins, I'll be happy for him. And I just want to see.
I just know what the winner's circle feels like, so I would love every single one of these guys. Some of them have been in the winner's circle, so I would like some guys that haven't been able to be right in there yet, or it would be awesome to see. You know
what I was thinking of? I was thinking about when Andrew was sitting here. He said, "Why are you doing the show?" And he said, "I won last year, and Arnold didn't give me my trophy. I'm coming for him to give me the trophy."
I mean, for him to imagine if he won the amateur and then the next year. I mean, history.
That's a hell of a story.
I love these history-making moments, and that's what's great about our niche bodybuilding world, right? You know, we're just the camaraderie, and it's just so many guys with the social media kind of going back and forth. And I don't think there's anyone on this stage. Like, you know, we had the Blessing and the Nick Walker thing going on at the Olympia, and then, but we don't have that any kind of tension, I don't believe, here. It seems like everyone's kind of cool, and the backstage will be cool. So hopefully I get to go back there and see the guys, and I'm sure they're all dying to eat right now because they went right from Olympia to, you know, to prep for this, and like, you know, we'll be in the house. So please make sure you shout at us. Tell us what you think of the podcast. Go to your social
media to see where you're going to be at what times.
All the social media will be posted. 2:00 on
Saturday.
I'll be at the Celsius booth. So make sure you guys come by. We'll probably be giving out some samples. And also we have the meet and greet scheduled for Friday and Saturday. Like I said, I'll be in the house, but please, I'll be floating through the Expo and through all the, like going from place to place. So just make sure you say hello, shout at me, or even from a distance, Jay, what's up? I appreciate that so much. So we'll be back to give our rundown of what happens at this contest. And, you know, I know we have a special guest. But we're definitely going to get Milos back on, because no matter what, win, lose, draw, we're going to get
one
his
way or
opinion.
another. He's going to be sitting right there, and he's going to tell us how he feels.
So we appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys check out this weekend's Arnold Classic, and, you know, we'll see you guys there.